The vast emptiness of space stretched out before Captain Sarah Chen as she gazed through the reinforced viewport of the research vessel Horizon. Countless stars twinkled in the distance, reminding her of the immense scale of the universe and humanity's relatively tiny place within it. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates," announced Dr. Elias Roman, the ship's lead scientist. His voice held barely contained excitement. Sarah nodded, her short black hair bobbing slightly in the low gravity. "Bring us out of FTL. Nice and easy." The Horizon shuddered as it transitioned back to normal space. Before them loomed a massive structure, unlike anything they had ever encountered. It was roughly spherical, but with countless protrusions and indentations covering its surface. The entire object seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly energy. "My God," whispered Sarah. "What is it?" Dr. Rahman was already busy at his console, fingers flying over holographic displays. Initial scans indicate it's composed of materials not found on the periodic table. The energy readings are off the charts. "Captain, this is it. Proof of alien intelligence." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. After years of searching, they had finally found something. But her military training kept her cautious. "Let's not jump to conclusions. Maya, keep us at a safe distance. Elias, continue scans, but no direct interaction yet. I want to know everything we can before we get any closer." As the crew worked, Sarah couldn't shake a feeling of unease. The object was beautiful, yes, but there was something almost predatory about its appearance, like a spider's web glistening with morning dew, both captivating and dangerous. Hours passed as they studied the artifact. Dr. Rahman's excitement only grew with each new discovery. "The complexity is astounding, Captain. It appears to be some sort of beacon or communication device, but far beyond our current understanding. If we could just get a little closer." Sarah was about to refuse when a sudden alarm blared through the ship. "Multiple energy spikes detected," shouted Maya, the pilot. It's activating." Before Sarah could give any orders, a brilliant beam of light shot out from the artifact, enveloping the Horizon. Sarah felt a searing pain in her head as information flooded her mind. Star charts, weapon schematics, and glimpses of a vast armada of ships unlike anything humanity had ever built. As quickly as it began, the beam vanished. The artifact pulsed once with blinding intensity, then went dark. "Status report." Sarah managed to gasp out, fighting off a wave of nausea. "Minimal damage to ship systems," reported Maya. "But, Captain, you need to see this." A holographic display sprang to life in the center of the bridge. It showed their location in the galaxy, but with a new addition: a massive fleet of ships, moving at incredible speed directly towards Earth. "They'll reach our solar system in less than a week," said Dr. Rahman, his earlier excitement replaced by dread. Sarah's mind raced. The images burned into her brain by the artifact left no doubt. These were not friendly visitors. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed. We need to warn them." As the Horizon rocketed back towards home, Sarah gathered her crew. "I don't know why, but that artifact chose to give us this information. Maybe it recognized us as a potential threat to whatever's coming. Either way, we now have knowledge that might help defend Earth." Dr. Rahman nodded. "I've already begun analyzing the weapon schematics. If we can replicate even a fraction of this technology." "Good," said Sarah. Maya pushed the engines to their limit. "Comms, prepare a tight beam transmission to Earth Command. Encrypt it with everything we've got." As her crew scrambled to their tasks, Sarah took a moment to collect her thoughts. The responsibility weighed heavily on her shoulders. Humanity's first contact with alien life, and it was shaping up to be a fight for survival. The next few days were a blur of activity. Sarah spent hours in the medbay, having the alien knowledge in her mind analyzed and recorded. Dr. Rahman worked tirelessly to understand the advanced technology they'd been gifted. The rest of the crew prepared for the coming conflict, knowing they'd be thrust into the heart of Earth's defense upon their return. They were less than a day out from Earth when the first reports of the invasion reached them. The alien fleet had arrived ahead of schedule, their FTL technology far superior to humanity's. This is Earth command to all ships. Unknown hostiles have entered the solar system. Pluto and Neptune research stations have gone dark. All available vessels are to rendezvous at Mars for a coordinated defense. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Sarah clenched her fists. They were too late to provide advance warning. But maybe, just maybe, the knowledge they carried could turn the tide. Maya, plot a course directly to Mars. Elias, I need weapons. Anything you can cobble together from those schematics, even if it's just a prototype. Already on it, Captain, replied Dr. Raman. I think I've cracked the basics of their energy weapons. It won't be pretty, but it should pack a punch. As they approached Mars, the scale of the invasion became clear. The red planet was surrounded by ships, human vessels desperately trying to hold the line against a vastly superior alien armada. Flashes of weapons fire lit up space like a deadly fireworks display. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the research vessel Horizon. Sarah broadcast. We have obtained critical information about the enemy. Request immediate clearance to Earth Command. There was a tense moment of silence before a reply came through. Horizon, you are cleared for priority docking at Olympus Base. Get that intel planet-side ASAP. As they maneuvered through the chaos of battle, Sarah watched an alien fighter effortlessly destroy 3 human ships. The pit in her stomach grew. They were outmatched in every way. But as the Horizon touched down on Mars, Sarah steeled her resolve. Humanity had never backed down from a challenge. They had explored the depths of their own world, reached out to the stars, and survived countless disasters. This would be their greatest test yet, but Sarah was determined to see her species come out on top. All right, people, she said to her crew as they disembarked. Let's go save the world. The invasion begins. The Situation Room at Olympus Base was a hive of frantic activity. Holographic displays showed the rapidly deteriorating defensive line around Mars, with more alien ships pouring through gaps in Earth's fleet every minute. Sarah stood before the hastily assembled War Council, her crew by her side. We're calling them the Swarm, General Catherine Winters was saying. The grizzled veteran's face was a mask of grim determination. Their ships move with a hive-like coordination we've never seen before. Our best pilots can't keep up. Sarah nodded. The artifact showed me glimpses of their fleet. They're a collective consciousness, linked through some kind of quantum entanglement. Every ship, every soldier, acts as part of a greater whole. Dr. Raman stepped forward, gesturing to a device he carried. But that connection might be their weakness. We've developed a prototype disruptor based on the schematics in Captain Chen's mind. If we can deploy it at the heart of their fleet, we might be able to break their coordination. A murmur of hope rippled through the assembled leaders. General Winters leaned forward, eyes narrowing. How close would you need to get? Too close, Sarah answered grimly. We'd have to punch through their entire fleet to reach the command ship. It would be a suicide mission. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity was facing extinction, and their best hope relied on a desperate gamble. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the base. A young lieutenant burst into the room, face pale. General, they've broken through. Dropships are entering Mars' atmosphere. General Winters sprang into action. Evacuate all non-essential personnel to Earth. Captain Chen, your team has 30 minutes to prep that device for transport. We're getting you on the last shuttle out of here. As the room erupted into motion, Sarah grabbed Dr. Raman's arm. Elias, tell me you can miniaturize that disruptor. We might not get another shot at this. The scientist nodded, determination etched on his face. I'll need to cannibalize some components from the Horizon, but I can make it happen. The next half hour was a blur of activity. Sarah's team worked frantically to gather everything they'd need, while the sounds of battle grew ever closer. The ground shook with distant explosions as the swarm began their ground assault. Just as they finished loading the last of their equipment onto a waiting shuttle, a massive tremor rocked the base. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling. "They've breached the outer defenses," shouted a Marine, firing his rifle down a corridor. "We need to go now." Sarah ushered her team onto the shuttle, taking one last look at the chaos engulfing the base. Marines fought desperately against a tide of alien soldiers, insectoid creatures that moved with terrifying speed and coordination. As the shuttle's doors sealed shut, Sarah caught a glimpse of General Winters leading a last-ditch counterattack. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and the general gave a solemn nod. They both knew she wouldn't be making it off Mars. The shuttle rocketed into the sky, weaving through a gauntlet of debris and weapons fire. Sarah watched helplessly as Olympus Base, humanity's greatest off-world achievement, crumbled under the swarm's assault. "We've got incoming," shouted the pilot. "Swarm fighters on R6. Sarah strapped herself in next to Dr. Rahman, who clutched the precious disruptor prototype. "Can we shake them?" The pilot's grim chuckle was answer enough. "Not a chance. But I can buy us enough time to reach the Einstein." The Einstein was humanity's most advanced warship, waiting in high orbit to escort the last evacuees to Earth. If they could reach it, they stood a chance of breaking through the swarm's blockade. The shuttle bucked and weaved, alarms blaring as enemy fire grazed their hull. Sarah watched the altitude tick higher, willing them to reach safety. Just as it seemed they might make it, a direct hit rocked the small craft. "We're losing power," the pilot shouted. "I can't maintain our course." Sarah unstrapped herself, moving to the cockpit. "The Einstein, how close?" The pilot pointed to a sleek ship in the distance, growing larger by the second. "We've got maybe 30 seconds of controlled flight left. After that." Sarah made a split-second decision. "Aim for their hangar bay. We're coming in hot." She rushed back to her team. "Brace for impact. As soon as we touch down, run for the interior. Don't stop for anything." The shuttle careened towards the Einstein, trailing smoke and debris. At the last possible moment, the pilot managed to level them out, skidding across the hangar deck in a shower of sparks. The moment they ground to a halt, Sarah was moving. "Go, go, go," she shouted, helping Dr. Rahman to his feet. They sprinted from the wreckage just as swarm fighters screamed into the hangar behind them. "Seal the bay," Sarah yelled into her comm as they reached a bulkhead. "Vent the atmosphere." The massive doors slammed shut, and a moment later, the pursuing swarm fighters were sucked out into the vacuum of space. Sarah allowed herself a moment of relief before the ship rocked with weapons impact. "Bridge, this is Captain Chen. What's our status?" "Captain," came a strained voice, "we've got incoming from all sides. Our shields are failing. We need a miracle or we're not making it to Earth." Sarah shared a look with Dr. Rahman. "How close to Earth do you need to be for an emergency jump?" There was a pause. "We'd tear the ship apart anywhere in system. We'd need to be past Luna's orbit, minimum." Sarah took a deep breath. It was time for another gamble. Plot a course directly for Earth. Divert all power to engines and forward shields. We're punching through. As the Einstein accelerated towards home, Sarah led her team to the bridge. The view screen showed a sea of swarm ships between them and Earth. It seemed an impossible task. "Dr. Rahman," Sarah said quietly, "how's our disruptor looking?" The scientist patted the device at his side. "Ready to deploy, Captain. But we'd need to be in the heart of their fleet to have any effect." Sarah nodded, a plan forming in her mind. "Well then, let's introduce the swarm to an old human saying." She turned to the helmsman, a grim smile on her face. "Damn the torpedoes. Full speed ahead." As the Einstein plunged into the heart of the alien armada, Sarah could only hope that the knowledge gifted to her by that mysterious artifact would be enough to see them through. Guerrilla warfare. The Einstein's desperate charge through the heart of the swarm fleet was a moment that would be remembered in human history for generations to come. As they activated the disruptor device, a wave of energy pulsed outward, momentarily scrambling the hive mind coordination of the alien ships. In that brief window of confusion, the Einstein slipped past Earth's defensive line, battered but intact. But the victory was short-lived. While the disruptor had proven effective, its range was limited. The swarm quickly regrouped and renewed their assault on Earth with even greater ferocity. Major cities around the globe fell in a matter of days. The planet's military forces, already depleted from the battle for Mars, couldn't hold back the tide. 6 months after that fateful day, Sarah Chen found herself leading a ragtag group of survivors through the ruins of what had once been downtown Los Angeles. The once bustling metropolis was now a maze of crumbling skyscrapers and overgrown streets. Nature was already beginning to reclaim the city, with vines creeping up shattered windows and small animals darting between abandoned vehicles. "Contact, 2 blocks east," whispered Maya, Sarah's former pilot, and now their scout. She lowered her binoculars, her face grim. "Looks like a swarm patrol. 5 drones, 1 overseer." Sarah nodded, her mind already formulating a plan. The past months had taught them much about their enemy. The insectoid drones were formidable in groups, but relatively mindless on their own. The overseers, however, were cunning and dangerous. "Elias," she said, turning to Dr. Raman, "how's our disruptor looking?" The scientist patted the device strapped to his back. It was a far cry from the prototype they used on the Einstein, cobbled together from salvaged alien tech and human ingenuity. "It'll work, but we've only got 1 shot. The power cells are on their last legs." Sarah weighed their options. They'd come to the city searching for supplies, but a chance to take out an overseer was too good to pass up. These hit-and-run tactics were slowly but surely eroding the swarm's control. "All right, listen up," she addressed her team. "Maya, I want you on Overwatch. Jack, you're with me. We'll flank them from the west. Elias, stay back with Lai, and be ready with that disruptor. Remember, we take out the overseer first. Without it, the drones will be disoriented." As they moved into position, Sarah couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed. Her crew from the horizon had formed the core of this resistance cell, but they'd picked up others along the way. Jack, a former Marine, had joined them after his unit was wiped out in the initial invasion. Lai, a teenage tech prodigy, had been found hiding in the ruins of a university lab. They'd become a family of sorts, bound together by the struggle for survival and the hope of one day reclaiming their world. Sarah signaled to Jack, and they crept forward through the shadows of a collapsed office building. The swarm patrol was just ahead, the insectoid aliens moving with an eerie, synchronized grace. The overseer stood out among them, its larger form and more intricate exoskeleton marking it as the leader. "Now," Sarah whispered into her comm. Several things happened at once. A shot rang out from Maya's sniper position, catching one of the drones square in its sensor cluster. As the alien fell, Sarah and Jack burst from cover, their salvaged energy weapons blazing. At the same moment, the air crackled with energy as Elias activated the disruptor. The effect was immediate. The overseer stumbled, its mental link to the hive mind temporarily severed. The drones, suddenly without guidance, began to move erratically. Sarah didn't waste the opportunity. She charged forward, dodging wild shots from the confused drones. The overseer was already beginning to recover, its compound eyes focusing on her with malevolent intelligence. But Sarah was faster. She closed the distance and thrust her vibroblade, a wicked piece of repurposed alien tech, deep into the creature's central nerve cluster. The overseer let out a piercing shriek before collapsing. Without their leader, the remaining drones were quickly dispatched by Sarah's team. "Area secure," Jack reported, his rifle still at the ready. "But that noise is going to attract attention. We should move." Sarah nodded, already moving to salvage what they could from the fallen aliens. "Lai, see what you can get from the overseer's neural tissue. Anything that might give us an edge." As they worked quickly to gather supplies and intel, A distant rumble caught Sarah's attention. She looked up to see dark clouds gathering on the horizon. But these were no natural storm. The roiling mass of the clouds moved with purpose, occasionally revealing glimpses of metallic forms within. Swarm ships, Sarah breathed. They're massing for something big. Elias joined her, his face pale. I've never seen so many in one place. Not since the initial invasion. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. They'd been so focused on their guerrilla campaign that they'd lost sight of the bigger picture. What was the swarm planning? We need to warn the other resistance cells, Sarah said, her mind racing. And we need to find out what they're up to. As if in answer to her words, Lee's voice rang out. Captain, I've got something from the Overseer's neural tissue. It's coordinates, I think, and a timestamp. Sarah rushed over to examine the data. Her eyes widened as she realized the implications. They're planning to bring in reinforcements. This isn't just an invasion force. It's a beachhead for something much larger. The weight of this revelation settled over the group. Their fight had just become even more desperate. What do we do, Captain? Maya asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenges ahead. We do what humanity has always done when backed into a corner. We get creative, we get bold, and we remind these aliens why it was a mistake to come to our planet. She looked at each member of her team, seeing the determination reflected in their eyes. We're going to take the fight to them. It's time to find their command center and cut the head off this invasion once and for all. As they gathered their gear and prepared to move out, Sarah cast one last look at the roiling mass of swarm ships on the horizon. The odds were overwhelming, but humanity had come too far to give up now. Whatever the aliens were planning, Sarah and her team would be there to stop it, or die trying. The alien citadel. The journey to the swarm's command center was fraught with danger. Sarah and her team spent weeks evading patrols, gathering intelligence, and linking up with other resistance cells. The coordinates extracted from the Overseer's neural tissue led them to a remote area in the Mojave Desert, where the aliens had constructed a massive structure unlike anything they'd seen before. My God, Jack whispered as they crouched behind a dune, observing the alien citadel through high-powered binoculars. It's like they've reshaped the entire landscape. The structure before them defied easy description. It was part organic, part mechanical, with sweeping arches of iridescent material connecting towering spires. The desert sand around it had been transmuted into a glassy, black substance that pulsed with an inner light. Swarms of smaller aliens buzzed around the structure like insects tending to a hive. That's not just a command center, Dr. Rahman said, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and dread. It's a terraforming engine. They're not just invading Earth, they're transforming it to suit their needs. Sarah's jaw clenched. This explained the massive gathering of swarm ships they'd observed. The aliens were preparing to escalate their colonization of Earth dramatically. How do we even begin to approach that thing? Maya asked, lowering her binoculars. It's got to be crawling with defenses we can't even see. Lai, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly perked up. Maybe we don't have to approach it at all. Look. She pointed to a section of the structure where a pulsing beam of energy shot up into the sky. That's got to be how they're communicating with their main fleet. If we could hijack that signal, we could feed false information to the incoming reinforcements. Sarah finished, a plan already forming in her mind. Potentially turn their entire armada away from Earth. Dr. Roma nodded excitedly. And if we overload the signal at the right moment, we might be able to create a feedback loop in their hive mind. It could disrupt their entire operation. The team spent the next few days meticulously planning their assault. They linked up with other nearby resistance cells, pooling their resources and manpower. It would be humanity's most daring operation since the fall of Earth's governments. On the night of the attack, Sarah stood before the assembled strike team, a mix of her core group and hardened survivors from other cells. The weight of what they were about to attempt hung heavy in the air. I won't lie to you, Sarah began, her voice carrying across the makeshift camp. "What we're about to do is probably suicide, but it's also our best chance, maybe our only chance, to turn the tide of this war. Each of you has already proven yourselves heroes 100 times over. Tonight, we fight not just for our own survival, but for the future of our entire species." She paused, looking each person in the eye. "No matter what happens, it has been my greatest honor to fight alongside you. Now let's go remind these aliens why they should have picked an easier planet to invade." The assault began under the cover of darkness. Lai and Dr. Raman, escorted by a team of their best fighters, made their way towards the communication array. Their job was to hijack the signal and prepare the devastating cyber attack that would hopefully cripple the swarm's hive mind. Meanwhile, Sarah led the main assault team in a diversionary attack on the Citadel's outer defenses. They used every trick and piece of scavenged technology at their disposal, repurposed swarm weapons, improvised explosives, and even a few combat mechs cobbled together from salvaged alien parts. The battle was chaos incarnate. The night sky lit up with energy weapons fire and explosions. Sarah's team fought with desperate ferocity, knowing that every second they could keep the swarm's attention was another second for Lai and Raman to work their technological magic. "Captain," Jack's voice crackled over the comm. "We've got incoming. Looks like they called for reinforcements." Sarah looked up to see a fresh wave of swarm ships descending from the sky. Their diversionary attack had worked almost too well. They'd drawn the full might of the local swarm forces down upon them. "Hold the line," Sarah shouted, her voice raw from exertion. "We just need a little more time." But as the new swarm forces joined the fray, Sarah knew they were being overwhelmed. Her team was being pushed back, their casualties mounting. Just as it seemed all hope was lost, her comm crackled to life. "Captain, we're in." Lee's excited voice came through. "We've tapped into their network. Dr. Raman is prepping the virus now." A surge of renewed hope coursed through Sarah. "Do it. Overload the signal." For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a high-pitched whine filled the air, causing both humans and aliens to clutch at their heads in pain. The massive energy beam shooting from the Citadel's spire began to pulse erratically. The effect on the swarm was immediate and dramatic. The once coordinated alien forces began to move erratically, their hive-mind connection clearly disrupted. Some simply collapsed, while others lashed out blindly at friend and foe alike. "It's working," Jack shouted over the comm. "Push forward." Sarah's team rallied, pressing their advantage against the confused alien forces. They fought their way deeper into the Citadel, determined to reach the central control room and end this once and for all. As they battled through twisting organic corridors, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was almost too easy. The swarm, for all their technological superiority, seemed to have no contingency for losing their hive-mind connection. Finally, they'd reached what appeared to be the heart of the Citadel. A massive chamber opened up before them, filled with pulsing organic technology and holographic displays, showing the status of the invasion across the globe. But as Sarah stepped into the room, ready to claim victory, a chilling realization washed over her. The displays weren't showing chaos and confusion as she'd expected. Instead, they showed swarm forces regrouping, adapting to the loss of their hive mind with terrifying speed. And there, in the center of the room, stood a being unlike any swarm creature they'd encountered before. Tall, regal, and radiating an aura of cold intelligence, it turned to face Sarah and her team. It spoke, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "The clever little mammals have finally arrived. I've been looking forward to this meeting." Sarah raised her weapon, but a gesture from the alien sent it flying from her hands. She realized with growing horror that they hadn't crippled the swarm at all. They'd merely gotten the attention of its true leader. As her team was immobilized by some unseen force, Sarah steeled herself for the fight of her life. Whatever this being was, it held the key to Earth's fate, and she was determined to see this through, one way or another. Triumph of humanity. Sarah felt an overwhelming pressure in her mind as the alien leader, the Overmind, as she instinctively knew it to be called, attempted to probe her thoughts. She gritted her teeth, focusing on the mental defense techniques she'd learned from the artifact months ago. Fascinating, the Overmind's voice echoed in her head. You've touched our ancient beacon. How? Unexpected. With a gesture, the alien released its hold on Sarah's team. They dropped to the ground, gasping but alive. Sarah knew this was a demonstration of power, not mercy. Why? Sarah managed to ask, fighting against the mental pressure. Why Earth? The Overmind's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with amusement. Your world is but one of many in our path. We are the shapers of galaxies, the harbingers of evolution. Resistance is not just futile, it's counterproductive. As it spoke, holographic displays sprung to life around them, showing countless worlds transformed by the swarm. Barren planets made lush, dead worlds teeming with new life, all reshaped in the image of the swarm. You see, the Overmind continued, we bring order to chaos, purpose to the purposeless. Your species' struggle has proven your worth. Join us, and evolve beyond your limited forms. For a moment, Sarah felt the seductive pull of the Overmind's offer. The power, the knowledge, the chance to transcend human limitations. But then she thought of Earth, of the billions who had died, of the stubborn, beautiful, chaotic mess that was humanity. No, Sarah said, her voice growing stronger. We choose our own path. Our chaos, our free will, that's what makes us who we are. The Overmind's amusement faded, replaced by cold anger. Then you choose extinction. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the Citadel. The Overmind's attention snapped to a nearby display, its composure slipping for the first time. Impossible, it hissed. Sarah felt the mental pressure lessen and seized the opportunity. Lie. Raman, what did you do? Lee's voice came through Sarah's comm, breathless with excitement. Remember that virus we uploaded? It didn't just disrupt their hive mind. It rewrote it. The swarm is turning against itself. On the displays around them, Sarah could see swarm ships attacking each other, drones fighting their own overseers. The carefully orchestrated invasion was devolving into chaos. The Overmind roared in fury, the sound shaking the very foundations of the Citadel. It lashed out with a wave of psychic energy that sent Sarah and her team flying. You think your primitive tricks can undo eons of evolution? The alien leader snarled. I am the swarm. I will remake this world and your minds with it. Sarah struggled to her feet, her head spinning from the psychic assault. She knew they couldn't defeat the Overmind in direct combat, but maybe they didn't have to. Everyone, fall back, she shouted to her team. Get to the extraction point. As they retreated, dodging energy blasts and collapsing sections of the Citadel, Sarah's mind raced. The artifact, the beacon that had started all this, it had chosen to give them information. Why? What had it seen in humanity that made them worthy? Then it hit her. The beacon hadn't given them a weapon to defeat the swarm. It had given them a key to unlock their own potential. Sarah skidded to a halt, turning to face the approaching Overmind. Her team hesitated, unwilling to leave her behind. Captain, what are you doing? Jack yelled. Finishing this, Sarah replied, a calm certainty washing over her. Get everyone out. That's an order. As her friends reluctantly retreated, Sarah stood her ground. The Overmind loomed before her, a terrifying amalgamation of organic and mechanical parts. Brave, but foolish, the alien said. Your mind will be the first I remake. But as the Overmind reached out, both physically and mentally, Sarah didn't resist. Instead, she opened her mind fully, letting the alien consciousness flow into her. For a moment, she was overwhelmed by the vastness of the Overmind's intellect, the weight of countless assimilated species and billions of years of evolution. But within that vast ocean of knowledge, Sarah found what she was looking for. The core of the swarm's hive mind, the very essence of their collective consciousness. And with the knowledge gifted by the artifact, she understood it. More importantly, she could change it. Sarah focused all her will, all her humanity, into a singular purpose. She thought of Earth's beauty and diversity, of human creativity and free will, of the power of individual choice. The Overmind reeled back, both physically and mentally, as Sarah's consciousness expanded. The alien tried to withdraw, to sever the connection, but it was too late. "What are you doing?" The Overmind screeched, its physical form beginning to waver. Sarah's voice, when she spoke, resonated with power, giving you a choice. Through their connection, Sarah forced the concept of individuality, of free will, into the very core of the swarm's hive mind. She showed them the beauty of diversity, the strength found in cooperation rather than assimilation. The citadel shook violently as the change rippled out through the entire swarm. Sarah could feel millions of minds awakening, experiencing individual thought for the first time. The Overmind thrashed in mental agony, its form dissolving as the unified will that held it together fragmented into billions of individual consciousnesses. "What have you done?" it wailed, its voice fading. Sarah, her own consciousness stretched to its limits, managed a small smile. "Given you the gift you tried to take from us. Freedom." With a final, reality-shaking psychic scream, the Overmind dissolved completely. The citadel began to crumble around Sarah as the swarm's technology, no longer guided by a single will, started to break down. Sarah stumbled towards the exit, her mind reeling from the immense psychic effort. She could feel the changes rippling across the planet, across the galaxy. The swarm was transforming, each individual now free to choose its own path. As she emerged from the collapsing citadel, Sarah saw her team waiting for her, their faces a mix of awe and concern. In the sky above, swarm ships were retreating, no longer a unified invasion force, but a scattered collection of confused individuals. "It's over," Sarah said, her voice hoarse. "We won." As the sun rose over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Sarah knew that the real work was just beginning. Humanity would need to rebuild, to heal. And now, they had a galaxy of newly awakened individuals to contend with. But for the first time since the invasion began, Sarah felt hope. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. They had proven their worth not through conquest, but through the power of choice and free will. Whatever came next, Sarah knew that humanity was ready. They had stared into the abyss of extinction and emerged stronger. The stars, once a source of terror, now beckoned with the promise of new adventures, new alliances, and a future limited only by their imagination. As her team gathered around her, Sarah looked to the sky and smiled. The real journey was just beginning.